Hello guys, and welcome to my build update number 2 for the Revell 148 scale Dornier Do 217E-4 bomber. This is a kit that was sent to me by Bob Dyer, so thanks to Bob for the kind gift. And taking off from where build update number 1 left off, we'd completed the cockpit, so now it was time to button it up in the fuselage and get the plane built. So there it is, located into the port side fuselage off. That's a close-up view of it located. I then assembled the starboard side fuselage off onto there to complete that fuselage section. Then it was up to the upper wing, upper fuselage and upper horizontal stabilizer piece, all one piece, that was glued in place. Then there was a tail end section that's glued on there right at the tail end. Then it was on to doing the lower wing sections and the upper end wing sections. That's the starboard side. There it is taped in place to hold it while it sets. Then it was on to doing the opposite, the port side. And after that it was on to the horizontal stabilizers, the lower halves, and as you can see one of them had some engraving which had to be sanded off, smoothed down before I glued it in place. And after that was glued in place, I then assembled the vertical stabilizer rudder assemblies. After that I moved on to the engine nacelles and the wheel housings that are contained in there as well. Got all the pieces together, detailed the engine parts, glued those together, glued the fan to the front, and then the propeller housing bushing in the back end. Then I assembled those engines into the nacelle halves, then assembled the other half around those to complete those. The next thing to do was to glue those onto the underside of the wings. There they are, ready to glue. And here's a view of them in place from the top side, and this is a view of them in place from the underside. After that I moved on to gluing the pylons in for the drop tanks. There they are, glued, located in place. After that I moved on to assembling the elevator actuator pieces and the vertical stabilizer and rudders. There they are, all glued in place. And then it was on to wheels, so the aftermarket resin wheels were next. I cut them off the block, sanded the bottoms down smooth, then drilled holes in all three for the wheel axles to locate into. Then it was on to the canopy and turret, getting all the parts together, guns, magazines, consoles, etc. That's the lower rear canopy and machine gun. And there we can see the all the machine guns detailed, the upper console and turret ready to go. And there we are, moving now onto the canopies. Before I can locate them they need to be masked. There they are, all masked, ready to go. So I started off by locating the front ones. That's the front side upper section already glued in place, and then I went down to the rear lower turret, but again I cut off the barrel from the machine gun there so it doesn't get snapped off, glued the machine gun in place, and then glued that all onto the cockpit fuselage on the underside there. It's the rear housing. I then glued the front housing in place, and what I didn't show was the machine gun that locates in the front of that. Here we have the upper main canopy. I've put the console in there, the magazine rack, and again the two guns that locate into the side locations. Barrels were cut off, and then those machine guns were glued into their locations. All barrels were put away safe. And then the last thing to do was put the upper canopy in place to finish all that. But before I did that and hid all that cockpit, I thought I'd take some pictures from different angles of the cockpit before it disappeared. This is the fourth one. I took a total of 8 from different angles, so it's just going through those. I know the Canopy is going to hide a lot of that, but we all do it. We all detail these cockpits. We know it's done. It's a big detailed part of the build. And here we are, the upper canopy finally in place. The last thing to do is the upper gun turret. There it is, ready. And again, I chopped off the barrel, glued the machine gun in place, masked that turret, located it, and then cleaned everything down with isopropyl alcohol. I masked the front engines, masked the wheel bays, the two front ones and the rear one, and cleaned all the peripheral parts down, got them on cocktail sticks, and everything was ready for priming. And as always, I used a dark grey Steinor Res primer. There's everything primed. That was the upper view, this is the lower view. After priming, it was on to pre-shading. Top side I did a grey, I used black with a bit of white just to tone it down, and then did some brown here and there. The underside I did brown. I want that to show through the black underside. So that's it guys, that's it for this build update number 2. The next update, number 3, will consist of the painting, the decals, the weathering, and the final assembler. So until then guys, Talio, chocks away.
Rudder.